I've got anything left after Kevin and Rachel took some of my stuff. I will say I was able this month to get 2 phantom Rotarians, Steve James and Larry Reece, to actually show up. So, and now for Dolores. Yeah. And no, it's great having Larry. Larry and I go way back. He was the 1993 Journalism and Broadcasting Student of the Year. Soon after that, he went and managed a store, if y'all remember it, called Jock's Niche, downtown Stillwater. And I had Chris's for 8 years, and any new competitor kind of made you go, okay, I'm going to go down there and check it out. So I went down there and checked it out. Larry had no idea who I was. I was going through his pricing and his merchandise, and then I met him. Then I knew I was in good shape, and his ass was gone in 2 years. So anyway, but anyway, he did the right thing and became the voice of the Cowboys. So come on up, Larry.
All right. So I'm supposed to hit got it here, I think. Is that right, Kevin? All right. Thumbs up. All right. Well, it's good to see everybody. I really looked hard for my name badge because I know I haven't been here in so long. I feel like Dolores Lemon, by the way. We used to always joke about Dolores. Now I kind of am Dolores. I love Dolores. Nothing against that. Just she was kind of phantom, right? So I've been phantom, and I could not find my badge out there because I knew there's some people I don't know. And then the rest of you are getting so old, you're not going to remember me, but the best I could do was find Casey Kendrick. So I am a more lovable Casey Kendrick. All right. So that's the best. That's the best I could do. But I did not realize that we had new Sergeant of Arms pants. I'm assuming everybody wears those pants. And I was trying to imagine Joe Ogle or myself when we were Sergeant at Arms wearing those pants, and I just don't think it would have worked the same. You wear a medium or a smedium, I think is what that would be. But great job on that and raising some money. But that's always fun to get to do and make fun of your fellow Rotarians. But you talked about Toby Keith, so I'll tell a quick story about Toby Keith. So there was one Bedlam back in 01. That actually was 02 because 01 we beat them down there, right? So we beat them down there, shocked the world. They were number 4 in the country, and we beat them 16-13. Rashawn Woods from Josh Fields, everybody remembers that. Don't forget T.D. Bryant taking the ball away from Roy Williams on a 3rd and long. And on the next play, we won that thing. So huge. Well, the next year they storm into Stillwater, and of course, telling everybody it was a fluke and there's no way it's going to happen again. Well, Barry Switzer and Toby Keith are roaming around our tailgate areas. And they stop into my former sister-in-law's tailgate, and they hung out for a while, and they were nice to him for a while. But finally, they kind of overstayed their welcome. And my sister-in-law, Leslie, who went to school here, goes, you know what? I realize you two are somebody, but it's Bedlam. Y'all need to move on. And so I was always proud of Leslie for kicking them out. But the best part of that story is that's the day we were up 38-6 at one point. Actually, it was 35-6. I took a picture of the scoreboard, the little bitty scoreboard we had out there, right? It was just like, this is nirvana. This is the best it's ever going to get. And that's also the day we say Rashawn is still open because he was open all day. He was the difference maker in that one. But as the game ends, Barry Switzer and Toby Keith with their tail between their legs are walking out of the stadium, and Should Have Been a Cowboy comes on, and Barry Switzer turns to Toby and says, well, they're playing your song, So I guess that was his consolation prize, but pretty fun stuff. So Daniel Heflin, who you met just a little bit ago, he is, they've just moved to town. He's now on our development team. He's raised money at Texas Tech, and he's raised money at Kansas. Got to have a little fun with Bill Self and ride that national championship ride with him last year. So we're happy to have Daniel. If you all need anything through our team, you can let him know. And then Braxton Brock is with us today. He's an all-star at our place. He was in the ticket office and now is in the posse and handles our VIP program and a lot of other stuff. But he's a real good hand. We're lucky to have him. Came from Mississippi State, and we forgive him for that. But we're glad to have him on our team. And so you guys need to get to know both of those guys. So I thought we'd kind of just give an update on OSU athletics. And And then if you have some questions, I'll try to answer some at the end if we have a little bit of time. But I've got a little video I want to play, and I'll set it up. So I'm going to show you one of the highlights of last year, and then we're going to talk about all the great things that did happen last year. And you can almost say that every year around our athletic department. It's amazing the success that our athletic department has had through time. By the way, you mentioned 52 national championships. If you want to get him on a technicality, we actually have more than that, because our equestrian team, I'm going to talk about that, just won the overall national championship, but it's not an NCAA. So we should have said NCAA championships, because there are 52, but the equestrian team has won several, including the overall last year. And then, of course, we have the AFCA named our 1945 team with Bob Fenimore and those guys as a national champion. And I think we ought to count what our cheerleaders do every year. They won, our large squad won again last year. So it's really just amazing, and how much success we've had and continue to have. And I think sometimes we take that for granted, because we have had so many championships, but you can go to other places like Chad Weiberg, our AD, has been at Kansas State, and he's been at Texas Tech. I love Kansas State. I think they're kind of from our ilk. I think we're kind of the same people, and I root for them when we're not playing them. It's actually my favorite place to go in the conference, go to Manhattan. They have never won a national championship in any sport. So when you think about how many we've won, and they're trying just as hard as we are, they're doing all the things that we do to try to help our teams be successful, but they have not been able to get that elusive first championship. And Texas Tech, I think, may have 2 or 3 now. I mean, it's not very many. How many is it, Daniel? You remember? 2, I think. One's women's basketball, and I think they just won a track national championship recently. So when you think about that, it kind of, as an OSU person, makes you stick your chest out a little. That's not how we are. We don't brag, but I think in this day and age, like the commissioner told us the other day, we need to be humble but bold. And I think we need to trumpet our successes and be proud of them. So this is a success from last year that I want to show you. And I want to tell you that this is not going to be what happened on the field. And some of you have seen this, but I love watching this. For one reason I played it at all of our nights for OSU and everything. So I hope it works, because we didn't get here and test it, because that's not how we roll. But we're hoping that it works here, right, Kevin? But I want you to watch John Holcomb in the booth, because he is so nervous that he can't even look at the field, right? He's looking to the right. And then watch the excitement of the excitable voice of the Cowboys, Dave Hunziker. And it'll show you how those guys are all in with our team. But this is that moment, and then we'll talk about it after it plays.
24, 14 seconds left. 37-33 Oklahoma State. The game is on the line right now. Pair of receivers to each side. One back set. Williams claps his hands, gets the ball. Back to pass. Under pressure. Walking to left. Hands down. Get the 43-yard line. They got him. It was the youngster, the freshman, that got him. Where's that Sooner magic now, baby? Where's that Sooner magic now?
I love that line from Dave Hunziker, because Dave's not that kind of guy to throw a line out there like that, but I just think he knew how important it was to our fan base and to our program to get an elusive Bedlam football win. It doesn't happen enough, and I just love that he said, "Where's that Sooner magic now, baby? Where's that Sooner magic now?" And so I didn't know it had happened, and I'm in my car going home, I don't know, an hour afterwards, and I hear him come back from break, and he goes, "I think I need to apologize." And, I said something on that last call, and so then as I'm waiting in traffic, they come back from another break, and somebody had talked to Dave, or he had just gotten emboldened. He goes, "You know what? I'm going to retract that apology. I don't think I need to apologize." So I didn't know what he was talking about. But, the next morning after a Bedlam win, I wake up and I've still got these warm and fuzzies all over me. I'm just like, this is awesome. We've got a year of not having to listen to all of that we have to listen to every year when they beat us, And this video comes up on Twitter, and I'm watching it. And this is silly, but this is how much it meant to me. I've got a tear running down my cheek, and I'm going, "Oh, this," and I'm laughing and I'm crying at the same time, because I think he did sum up what it means to us. And "Where's that Sooner magic now?" was just a great way to put it. So I just love how Dave called that. But like Coach Gundy said, when I showed him that in Altus, we played it up on the stage when I had him up on the stage, and he said, "I've never seen that." He goes, but that does tell you how much those guys care about our program and how much they bought into it and believe in it. So some highlights. I mentioned last year, this last season, we had the Equestrian National Champions. Larry Sanchez has just done a remarkable job. I think he's in year 24 or so, heading our program. And it's really the first women's national team title for us, overall team title. Again, we still are waiting for that elusive NCAA team title on the women's side, but we're going to get there. And I actually think we're getting closer to having equestrian be an official NCAA championship. So there's some things working there to try to get that done. You can see our men's and women's cross country team, equestrian and softball, all won Big 12 championships. Taylor Rowe, I guarantee you, every one of us in this room have seen her running around Stillwater. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter what time of day that girl is running. She's amazing. She won the indoor 3,000 championship, 3,000 meter championship, the Phillips 66 Big 12 Bedlam series. Here's another reason to stick your chest out. We won the Bedlam Cup for the 8th time in the last 9 years. So it is, they want to talk about dominance in one sport. Let's talk about overall program. All right. Number 23 ranking in the final Learfield Directors Cup. I think a few years ago, I talked about this with the Directors Cup is a way to kind of gauge yourself against other universities. What they do is they take 18 sports that you select to be counted in the Bedlam Cup, and then they see how everybody did against each other. Well, there's schools like Stanford has 36 sports. They just have to pick their top 18. We have 18. So we have to use every one of ours, and one of them is equestrian. It doesn't count. So it's amazing that we continually finish in the top 25. And last year we were, I should say the year before this past one, I believe we were like 12 or 13, and we were behind only Texas in that ranking. So it's just amazing what our sports, because it's not like we can say, well, we had a bad year here, we can throw them out and put somebody else in. We have to count all 18 or 17, I should say. So we don't even have a full 18 allotment. 41 All-Americans across 14 sports. You can see 5 COSIDA All-Americans, academic All-Americans. Football beat number 5 Notre Dame. Anybody enjoy that Fiesta Bowl? I mean, my goodness. What's that? Man, I wish I'd have known that. I'd have turned it on. But that was incredible because we couldn't have been worse in the first half, and we probably couldn't have been better in the second half. If not for a couple of turnovers inside their 20, we end up winning that by 17 after being down 21. I mean, just remarkable. I like what Coach Gundy said. We've got a logo too. What he really probably meant is we've got a brand too, and it's a national brand now, and it never hurts to beat the Golden Domers. So I mentioned the large cheer co-ed national champions for the 7th time, and Mike Gundy and Larry Sanchez national coaches of the year. So a lot to celebrate, and here's just a quick little video. As a matter of fact, I'm skipping the video. You don't need the video. All right. You'd rather just listen to me, right? No, I'm kidding. But some things we added for student athletes, support services, sports medicine, Chad Weiberg and Dr. Schrum, of course, her background with OSU medicine. She said, hey, we can be doing this better. Instead of us just having, trainers and doctors that we hire, let's merge them with OSU medicine and OSU health sciences. And so we've got a really unique setup for our student athletes, and I think it's better than ever. Some of the same people that were employed through the athletic department are now with OSU health sciences, and it just gives some synergy there and more resources for us. Mental health, Tom and I were talking about this. I mean, this, I think it's becoming more prevalent, but I also think maybe we're more aware of it. We've had a counselor for the last 3 years, and he was so busy that now I believe we've hired 3 new counselors. So our student athletes have more resources, more counselors they can get to. And so we have 4 total. So that's a good thing. We have a leadership and career development group. As a matter of fact, Tia Herring, who has been seated next to me at basketball, if you've been to men's basketball in the last 15 years, she's been the one on the headset kind of directing traffic, telling the moron on the mic when he can talk and when he can't, and she has moved into this area. So I will miss her being there, but we've got some good guys that have been on her team that'll fill that role. But it's a really good group that are going to help people with their, just getting ready for the job market out there and career development. NIL resources. We all know that college athletics has probably changed more than it's ever changed in the last year. And it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time to work in athletics because it's ever evolving, and we're still kind of learning how this is going to work. I don't think the NCAA did us, any services by just throwing their hands up and saying we can't control any of this now that the Supreme Court has ruled on the Alston ruling that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. They just said, we just can't do anything on NIL. And now we feel like it's kind of the Wild West. We're not against our student athletes being able to, capture some money because of their name, image, and likeness. It's just there's no restraint. The worst part of it is when schools come in and try to vulture players from your squads, and that's what we'd really like to get under control, because it's not right that say an LSU reaches out to one of our football players' parents and offers them $100,000, and that kid, although he doesn't want to leave, feels like he needs to because his parents want to capture that money. So it's just a crazy time. And the Posse Star Fund, I'm going to talk about just a little bit in a moment. So I'll get to that. It has to do with that Alston court ruling that I mentioned. So really excited about this. We have not done a Hall of Honor induction ceremony in 11 years. And, I'm halfway joking, halfway not. The real reason was we'd get in a room, and our athletic director at the time, I mean, it's hard to compare to his 8 national championships, and you just talk around. We just wouldn't end up doing it. So it became difficult, and Chad Weiberg, he wants it back. He knows the importance, the good things that can happen out of this. And, Lindy Miller, one of the greatest golfers we've ever had. Talked about Rashawn. He's still open, and what a difference maker he was for us. Sandy Fisher was the first coach I really worked closely with. And I was calling softball back in her day. And I tell you what, she was an amazing leader around here. And I'm so happy that she's going in. She'll be here from Oregon. And I tell you, I think we may have more softball players at this event coming up on the 16th than any other sport, for sure, because she is beloved. Andrea Riley, you could say the best women's basketball player we've ever had. She's our leading scorer of all time. And I think she's a leader in assists too, which a lot of people be surprised by. And Adie Franch has been in the Olympics. She's just a great representative of our soccer program. So really excited about that. I hope you'll get your tickets and come out and enjoy a great night in Gallagher Iba Arena, because we need to have a good crowd to welcome these 5 into the OSU Athletic Hall of Honor. I'm really excited about this. One of the things that I'm really happy happened in my life was I got to know Bob Fenimore because he lived in Stillwater forever. And I got to know him at a Hall of Honor induction. I was a young pup and emceeing that night, and I got to know him, and such a great person and just a great guy to listen to stories about. He would always tell you he wasn't even the best player on that team. That's the kind of humble man he was. But I would go out and just sit on his couch and get him to tell me stories. And I'm so happy that we're going to get to honor him. He'll be the 3rd inductee into the Ring of Honor on October 8th. And he is so deserving. And he was our first All-American in football. He kind of put us on the map. And I mentioned the AFCA named the 1945 Oklahoma A&M Aggies national champs. So I just wish more of those guys had been around for us to make sure they knew they were national champs. Most of them are gone. I think there were 5 of them alive, and it was really fun to track down those 5. And I got to be the one to go down and give them a picture of that team that said national champions. And those guys, most of them in rest homes, they were elated to know that happened and they were the same way. They wish more of their teammates had been around when that happened. So just want to mention the Star Fund. I'm not here to raise money, but the Star Fund is what happened with that Alston case. So what the Supreme Court ruled 9-0, by the way, against the NCAA is that they could not limit what the student athletes could get more than the cost of attendance and their room and board and their books and those things. They ruled that we could give them, I don't know how they came up with $5,980, but that's what they threw out there on top of that, so that they would have a little spending money to pay some bills, get some new clothes, whatever they might need. I like the way that Chad Weiberg is doing this, because instead of saying, hey, let's give them half of that at the beginning of the semester, half the next semester, when I was a college kid, and probably all of you can relate it, you would have just blown that. It'd been burning a hole in your pocket and you'd blow through it, right? What we're going to do is there's 10 monthly payments of $598 that they will get. The first one went out this week, as a matter of fact. So they get their first $598, and they'll just have a little bit of money to be able to do some things, pay some bills, whatever. So what this is to the athletic department is a $2.5 million hit to our budget that we've got to come up with. So what Daniel, myself, and Braxton and our entire team are doing is we're talking to people, and if they're interested in helping with this, let's say somebody says, hey, I'll cover one of your student athletes. So $5,980. Let's round it up to 6,000. The next question we're going to ask is, well, if you're comfortable with that this year, would you do it for the next 5 years? Because what I need to do is get that 2.5 million locked in over the next 5 years so that my guys can get back out there and we can raise money for a new wrestling facility, raise money for a new softball field. I think Fletch would like to see that. By the way, every time I see him in that little mini skirt. It was a mini skirt. All right. It was a hula skirt. That's what I should say. And he was orange, and I'll never forget it now. But this guy bleeds orange. There's no doubt about it. But what a great job Kenny and Vanessa and everybody have done with our softball program. So if anybody would like to talk about the Star Fund, you get your posse points. It's completely tax deductible. We need your help. Just let us know. It is any scholar. Thanks for saying that. The way we're doing it right now, I think the SEC may be the only conference that is doing it for every student athlete, meaning walk-ons as well. The Big 12 has not okayed it for walk-ons yet. We kind of think it'll end up happening at some point, but it hasn't yet. So right now it's any student athlete on aid, meaning it could be a full ride football or basketball student athlete, or it could be a wrestler that's just on books, or a baseball player or a softball player that's on a quarter scholarship. All of them, no matter how much aid they're getting, if they're getting any aid, they get the $598 every month for 10 months. So any other questions on that? Anybody else curious? Yes. Yeah, if they're on aid, doesn't matter if they're playing that year or not. If they're a red shirt and they're on aid, they get it. Well, red shirt to be on scholarship. Now, if you're a walk-on, you're not getting it. So you could red shirt as a walk-on, and you're still not getting it because you're not on aid. Did you eat the chicken today, James? He did. I thought he did. If for those of you who don't know, James loves chicken. He's a very foul person. No, I love James. That used to be a running joke around here for years. So anyway, we need you on the Star Fund if you're willing to help us out. You can go to our website and read more. You can also go to our website and put your camera up to that little deal there, and it will, what do we call that, Braxton? You're my IT guy. QR code. Thank you. Yeah, I knew that. Name, image, and likeness. I mean, that's a whole separate deal. I'm not going to go too deep into name, image, and likeness stuff, but we've added some resources because with this name, image, and likeness, let's say Spencer Sanders signs a deal with somebody for $50,000. We want to make sure our student athletes, when they have that income coming in, they got to realize you got to set some of that back for tax purposes and all those things, and just try to educate them. We've got some different brands here that we've teamed with that will help them through the process. Influencer will help them with any questions they have. So we're not trying to just throw them out there and say you're on your own on that. We're really trying to help them as much as we can. But one rule that the NCAA does have is that guys like me and guys who work in the athletic department, like Braxton, we can't make a deal for a student athlete. Now, if one of you would call me and say, hey, I want to talk to a men's and a women's basketball player, here are the two basketball players I can get the numbers and give them to you, but I'm not supposed to sit there and negotiate with you and say, here's what I think you ought to do, or hey, why don't you do this? I'm just supposed to make sure you can connect, if that makes sense. So I think, let's see here, facility upgrades real quick. Did somebody have a question? Did I hear something? Nope. So these are facility upgrades that have happened. Our wrestling, we had a donor give a couple give $1 million from the Tulsa area, just big wrestling fans. They wanted to help. John Smith believes we now have the best locker room in collegiate wrestling, and I don't disagree with him, because you don't disagree with John Smith or anyone with cauliflower ear, by the way. But that's just know that is a rule. Don't mess with wrestlers, but no, it is amazing what we were able to do with that money. And the wrestlers are in there now, have been for a few months, and it's really been cool. The equestrian program also got new locker rooms, and the football team is they'll have new locker rooms, or they do have new locker rooms now in the West End Zone, so they're ready to go a week from tonight, right? So let's see here. We put heat in the Sherm Smith Center, and you go, what? Well, we didn't put heat or air in that. Now it is, Chad Weiberg will talk about how it's an engineering marvel because it can be, 108 degrees outside. Well, inside with those big doors up, airline hangar doors up, that breeze comes through there. It's at least 20 degrees cooler. Well, the same thing happens if it's 30 degrees outside. It's 10 degrees inside, and it's just too cold for them to be able to work out. We didn't put it where they can, coaches like to get it balmy sometime, make these guys sweat. It's not going to get that hot. It's just going to knock the edge off of the cool, and they'll be able to get in there because we go to bowls every year now. I mean, 17 in a row, right? So we got to make sure that they can prepare even if the weather is, freezing. So that was a good thing to do. Practice field, new turf, I should say, on the practice fields outside and inside the Sherm Smith Center. New game field in Boone Pickens Stadium. You'll see it. Hopefully you've seen pictures, but the orange pops. It's not the wrong orange. It is bright orange. So I think you'll like the look of that, especially on TV, but it looks great in person as well. New game field at Cowgirl Stadium. We had to do that, wasn't last year, but the year before we almost didn't get to play. I think it was a regional, wasn't it? Because the field was so soggy. It probably wasn't completely safe, but they got it in. But we really had to do the new field for our Cowgirl softball program. New equestrian team building. Really kind of a neat story. How much time do I have? Are we about out? Okay, so really kind of neat. We've had a couple of sets of parents whose daughters came to ride for Larry Sanchez, and one of the gentlemen went to Boise State. The other one went to Notre Dame and also went to Purdue. But Chad Weiberg and I were just with these gentlemen. They have basically given us the money to build the new team building. Their daughters graduated 4 or 5 years ago. They are still all in with Oklahoma State. Chad and I went to Oregon to be with them about 3 weekends ago, and they're going to continue to support us. When they say us, they're talking about Oklahoma State. Even though they graduated somewhere else, they said, we don't have the relationships with our schools that we have with you guys, and we're all in. Our daughters, our Cowgirls, and we're forever part of the OSU family, and they've been real difference makers. So it's really pretty neat to see people like that who had no affiliation with us. Once their daughter comes here and they come and they meet the people of the community, they get to know our staff, and it's just really fun to see happen. The Griner family, good Stillwater family. Now Don and his wife live in Oklahoma City, but they are big into running. And they named the cross country course, which, by the way, we have the best cross country course in the country. If you've not gone out there to see it, it is remarkable. And we're doing some refurbishments also to the academic center. So that was kind of my update. If anybody has any questions, if we have time, I haven't even looked at the clock. So Scotty.
Now this most recent NIL deal from Seth Wadley to the Cowgirl softball.
Yep.
I don't know how that works. If that means they're all driving trucks or cars, or if it's money involved, or what the deal is.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to answer. I saw it online, to be honest with you. Again, I can't work NIL deals, so I didn't know about it. You know, we don't know the details, but we have a deal apparently. So we'll find out and let you guys know what that is. Go ahead. By the way, one of the greatest prayers I've ever Pastor, you did a great job.
Hardly a pastor.
I think you're on. Go ahead.
I'm on.
Yep.
So 52 national championships. How does that stack up in the Big 12? I mean, where do we rank?
We are number 1 in the Big 12. We are number 5 across the country. And again, I want to remind you, Stanford's number 1. Then it's USC, UCLA, and now Penn State, I believe, has tied us. Isn't that right? But all of those on the left coast, again, have way more sports. So they've won in diving and they've won in swimming. And, some of them have bowling. We ought to start bowling, but hey, I don't think we're looking to add anything right now. But, so I'm not taking anything away from what they've done. I'm just saying they've had more opportunities for what we've done as a smaller athletic department with also a much smaller budget than a lot of those. There's a lot to be proud of, but we're 5th all time, number 1 in the conference. Who else? Yes.
Conference realignment.
Yeah, I hear that might happen. Yeah. You know what is amazing? 13 months ago, when all that hit, when those 2 schools down south decided to go somewhere else, it was a kick to the gut, and you thought, oh my gosh, we're in big trouble here. I think we were all nervous. I mean, probably everybody in this room and definitely everybody in our athletic department and on our campus. I think we were very fortunate. I do not mean this in any negative way. I think we were fortunate, even though they had just gotten into office, that we had Dr. Schramm and we had Chad Weiberg, because they really had to burn the midnight oil. And I just think we were fortunate they were there. I also think she's a bulldog, and she's heard me say that, and she doesn't take offense, because she's going to fight for Oklahoma State. So is Chad Weiberg. He's one of us. He loves this place. And I'm serious when I say, we introduced them. I was part of that press conference, introduced them the day they took over, and it wasn't but a week and a half later that we didn't see Chad for 5 weeks. He was at Whitehurst the whole time, and they were calling and reaching out to everybody they could to fight for Oklahoma State. And I think they did a heck of a job. I think all the presidents and the ADs did a great job of finding the best 4. We were probably lucky. I heard Dr. Schrum say this to our entire staff on Tuesday. We were lucky that it happened to us, most recently first. It wasn't the first time it happened to us even, but at that time, if OU and Texas were going to leave, it's good that it happened then, because we got to pick the best 4 out there. And I think, Central Florida, their enrollment's like 50,000. I mean, they're a sleeping giant. Cincinnati's done an amazing job recently, and you saw them in the college football playoff. That's a great ad. Houston is the second or third largest media market in the country. That's not a bad ad there. BYU next to Notre Dame probably has as big a following as anybody out there. So now you look at what happened with the Pac-12. They don't get to pick the next. I mean, it's down the list a little bit, and it's going to be tough to find 2 or 4 that are great fits for them and are really going to move the needle for the Pac-12. We did meet with our new commissioner. I think he's the right guy for the right job. I think Chad Weiberg's been around him a lot. I think really thinks he's sharp. I asked him, I said, hey, do we have a false sense of security 13 months after it happened to us, that the Big 12's on good footing and we're really in a good space? And he said, absolutely not. It's not a false sense. He goes, I'm bullish on the Big 12. I think we're in great shape. We're going to be a part of this thing moving forward. And he's looking to see about adding a couple more. So we'll see what happens. And I think he's the right guy, because he's worked a lot of media deals, and he's going to try to move up the timeline to get the Big 12's media rights deal done more quickly. As a matter of fact, you might hear something here in the next month on that.
One last question.
Anyone?
I mean, I'll see it on Twitter. I mean, we've got some pretty big accomplishments there, just as far as GPA and just overall.
Yeah, I should have brought some of those numbers, and I talk about them every year at the Academic Awards Bank. It's amazing how many kids get recognized. Marilyn Middlebrook, I say it all the time, she's the best head coach we have on campus. She does a great job. I've told her she can never retire. I don't think she wants to. Her husband Dan passed away a couple years ago, and we all miss Dan, and I know she does, but I think that might keep her in the job a little bit longer, because she doesn't have her traveling buddy, but she does an amazing job. And our graduation rate is better with student athletes than it is for the general population on campus, if that tells you anything. So there's a lot to be proud of there. So like I said, let's be humble but bold, and not be afraid to tell people how good Oklahoma State is, how good the athletic department is. And I'm proud of the fact that, it all kind of started with athletics, this renaissance period. I've been proud to be a part of it the last 18 years. And you look back and you see all the facilities, but it also, those donors that started with us, they've filtered over and have started helping on campus. And it's just been remarkable. If you hadn't been to our campus in 15, 20 years, you wouldn't recognize it. So it started in athletics. Now it's everywhere. And I think people realize if they give to Oklahoma State, good things happen. And so I just think it's good to be us. So thanks for letting me come back home.